Hey guys, today I'll tell you a couple stories, so sit back, take a sip of your drink, and enjoy these stories, if you dare, and make sure to subscribe for more. The House That Whispers. It started with a letter, yellowed at the edges, sealed in wax, and written in a curling hand Eleanor didn't recognize. Dear Eleanor, you don't know me, but I knew your mother. There is a house that belongs to your family. It has stood empty since 1987. You are its last rightful heir. Come to Black Hollow Road, number 133. There is something inside that belongs to you. Sincerely, Dr. M. Albrecht. Her mother had died 3 months earlier, and she'd never once mentioned a house, never mentioned Black Hollow Road, and certainly never mentioned anyone named Doctor. Albrecht. She'd always been tight-lipped about her past, her childhood, even her own parents. Eleanor never pressed. Now she regretted it. She considered throwing the letter away, but grief does strange things to the brain. It makes you chase ghosts, even if you know better. Eleanor left the city early one morning with a thermos of coffee and a half-charged phone. The drive took her deep into rural Pennsylvania, where GPS signals began to flicker and the roads narrowed into gravel and then dirt. She passed no other cars. Forest pressed in from both sides, branches hanging like arms trying to stop her. The air smelled wrong, wet leaves, stagnant water, and something coppery underneath it all. She nearly turned around twice. But she found Black Hollow Road. It was barely a trail swallowed by overgrowth and shadow. At its end stood the house, number 133. It was taller than she expected, a Victorian-style thing with a sagging porch and peeling paint, looking like it had held its breath for 40 years. Weeds clawed their way up the steps. The front door was cracked open. She called out once, nothing answered, and stepped inside. The air was thick, still. Dust floated in sunbeams like ash. The furniture was draped in white sheets, but the house didn't smell abandoned. It smelled like old perfume and rust, the kind of scent you can almost taste. She walked slowly, each floorboard groaning like it remembered her. Upstairs, in the narrow hallway, she heard the first whisper, soft where breathy, her name, Eleanor. She froze, turning in slow motion. No one was there. She stood still for a full minute before laughing nervously and blaming her imagination. She should have left then, but something about the house tugged at her. It didn't feel welcoming, exactly, but it felt aware, and she needed to know why it was calling her. She chose a room that looked the least damaged. Old wallpaper curling at the corners, a cracked dresser, a thin mattress that smelled of mothballs, and decided to stay one night. She cleaned as best she could and managed to get the lights working. They flickered reluctantly, as if waking from a long sleep. That night, the whispers returned. She heard them from behind the walls, beneath the floorboards, inside the closet. Her name again, and other things. Come see, It's waiting. Blood remembers. She didn't sleep much, and when she did, she dreamt of stairs descending into black earth and a mirror with her reflection smiling while her own face stayed still. The next morning, she explored more, found a hallway she'd missed the night before. Behind the kitchen, half hidden by a rotting curtain, was a heavy door with 4 deadbolts. Every one of them was unlocked. She opened it. A steep stairwell led down into blackness. Stone steps, damp with condensation. A cold draft rose up, carrying that same rust and perfume scent. She hesitated, then descended. At the bottom was a wide, low-ceilinged basement with a dirt floor. In the center sat a broken chair. Around it were iron rings bolted to the walls and what looked like old chains. Symbols had been carved into the stone, some of them so deep the rock had cracked. And on the far wall, a mirror. Her reflection stood there, but it wasn't right. It was smiling. She was not. She stumbled back, heart in her throat, and the reflection matched none of her movements. Its smile widened, showing too many teeth. She fled the basement, bolting the door behind her. That afternoon, someone knocked on the door. A tall man in a black coat. White hair tied at the nape of his neck. Skin too pale. Eyes too blue. "Dr. M. Albrecht," he said calmly, as if he'd been expected. She demanded to know what was going on, who he was, what the hell this place was. He didn't give her answers, only fragments. "This house is a threshold," he said. "It remembers the bloodline that built it, and what they fed it." "What are you talking about?" she asked. "You are the last of them, Eleanor, and it's hungry." She slammed the door. When she peeked through the curtains, he was gone. She spent the next hour trying to find the road out, but where the dirt path had been, there was only forest. Dense, unbroken forest. The way she'd come was gone. Panicked, she searched the house for anything that could explain it. In the attic, under a collapsed beam, she found a leather-bound journal. Inside, shaky handwriting dated from the 1960s to 1987. It belonged to Amelia Thorne, her grandmother. The entries started normal. Daily activities, notes about the weather, updates on her daughter, Margaret. But as the years went on, the tone changed. She wrote of voices in the walls, of the basement, of keeping the thing asleep. One entry chilled Eleanor to the bone. The bloodline must feed it. Always family, always our own. It's waking. Margaret refuses. She ran, but the house remembers. The mirror knows. If she won't come back, then the child will. The child, her. Eleanor dropped the journal. That night, she heard the basement door open on its own. She locked herself in the bedroom, pushed the dresser in front of the door, sat in the corner with a fire poker waiting for dawn. When the sun rose, the road was back. She didn't even grab her things. She ran to her car, drove like the devil was on her heels. She didn't stop until she reached a gas station an hour away. Her hands shook as she dialed the local county office. "I need to ask about a property," she said, giving them the address. Black Hollow Road, 133. There was silence. Then a flat voice. That house burned down in 1987, miss. Whole road was condemned. No, she said. I was there yesterday. Ma'am, I don't know where you went, but you weren't at Black Hollow Road. She didn't argue, just hung up. That night, back home in her apartment, she avoided the mirror. It didn't help. Her reflection moved on its own. It smiled, tilted its head, whispered even when her own mouth was closed. The mirror began to fog over on its own. Sometimes she'd wake and find her closet door wide open, even though she remembered locking it. The air in her apartment grew colder, damper. Lights flickered, radios hissed with static, and beneath it all, whispers. They grew louder each night. They didn't always say her name now. Sometimes they said, "We're coming." Other times, you left the door open. And once, from the mirror, in her own voice, "You belong to the house now." Eleanor hasn't slept in days. The hallway outside her bedroom has started to look different, longer, older. The wallpaper peels in the same pattern as the house. The lights flicker with the same rhythm. And last night she saw stairs descending behind the closet. Stone stairs leading into darkness. She thinks if she opens that door again, the road won't exist anymore. Not even the city. Only forest. Only the house. Only what waits beneath it. And she knows deep in her bones that it won't let her leave a second time. The whisper comes again, gentle, right beside her ear. "Come see." Hopefully you now got chills down your back, but I'm not done yet. I have a couple more stories for you. Downstairs. I don't remember when it started exactly, but the sound woke me again tonight. Click. A soft, precise sound, like a lock turning with care. Not rushed, not forced, just gentle. Then the creak. The kind of creak that feels longer than it should. Not one sound, but a slow, drawn-out groan that seems to echo through the bones of the house. Almost like the house itself is warning you not to listen. At first I thought it was the heating. Then I thought it was just the door settling. Now I don't think it's the door at all. The basement door is old. Flaky paint, yellowed from time, and probably cigarette smoke from a past owner. The brass handle is cold even in summer, and the lock barely works. We don't use the basement. It smells of mildew and something metallic. Something fermented. But since we moved in 3 months ago, the door's been different. It used to stay shut. Now every single night at exactly 3:17 a.m., it clicks open on its own, just an inch or two, enough for the dark to spill out. I tried chalking it up to air pressure, warped hinges, drafts, any excuse, that would keep it ordinary. But you know what ordinary doors don't do? They don't pull nails out of the frame when you seal them shut. Lily noticed the door, too. She started leaving the kitchen light on all night, just to cast a soft glow against it, like light could keep it from opening. She stopped sleeping around the same time. At first, she'd toss and turn, mumble in her sleep. Then she began waking up, gasping, eyes wide and glassy, staring at the hallway as if expecting something to be standing there. Sometimes she would whisper, "It came up again." I'd ask her what she meant. The thing downstairs. I saw it watching me through the floorboards. She wasn't joking. That's the worst part. I could tell in her eyes. She wasn't trying to scare me. She was already scared. One night, I woke up to Lily standing in the hallway. She wasn't moving, just staring at the crack in the basement door. Her hair was hanging over her face, her arms slack at her sides, barefoot on the cold wood. I asked what she was doing. She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered something so quietly I thought I imagined it. "He's awake now." I stepped closer. Her eyes didn't move. Her lips barely moved. "You're going to go down soon," she said. And then she turned and walked back into the bedroom like nothing had happened. Then the power went out. No warning, no storm. Just the sudden hollow silence as the fridge hummed its last note and every light in the house blinked out like dying stars. It was around midnight. I lit the only candle we had, lavender scented, from Lily's old yoga set. The second the flame flickered on, something in the house felt different, heavier, like the air had thickened and I was breathing through wet wool. Then I heard it. Footsteps, not above, not beside me, below. Wooden, creaking, deliberate footsteps on the basement stairs. Coming up. I held the candle toward the kitchen. The basement door was open wider than usual, almost halfway now. The shadows inside moved, not fast, not erratic, slowly, like breath. Then I heard it. A voice. Lily's voice. "Please, I can't find the light. Come down." But she was asleep upstairs. I'd checked on her just 20 minutes earlier, and this voice, it was close. It wasn't calling from the bottom of the stairs. It was calling from just below the threshold, just out of sight. It sounded like Lily. But it wasn't. It said please, with the wrong timing, emphasis on the wrong syllables. Too calm, too knowing. I stepped toward the stairs with the candle held out like a shield. 13 steps. I don't know how I knew that, but I did. It was in my head like a warning. 13. And if I reached the bottom, something would happen. Something final. I went down 1 step. The candle dimmed. 2 steps. My breath felt like ice. By the 6th step, I couldn't see the kitchen any more behind me, only black. By the 9th, I could hear whispering. It wasn't Lily's voice anymore, it was mine. The voice was calling up softly, "He's here, he's ready." And then I saw it, not clearly, but enough. Something pale, something wrong. It stood just ahead of me in the dark, 10 feet away, maybe less. No candle, no flashlight, just there, like a shape pulled out of nightmares. It looked like me, but the face was stretched, the smile too wide, too far splitting at the cheeks. The eyes were empty sockets, wet and twitching. It tilted its head, blinked, then took one slow step back into the dark, and I turned and ran like hell. I slammed the basement door shut, jammed the kitchen chair under the handle, and braced against it with both hands, heart pounding like a drum. The candle had gone out. Lily was waiting for me in the hallway, humming softly. Sitting with her back against the wall, knees tucked up to her chest. She didn't look up. "It likes you," she said. "It knows your shape now." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The next morning, I went back to see the door. It was gone. Not closed. Gone. The doorway was sealed, wood like the rest of the wall, seamless, as if there'd never been a door at all. But when I put my ear against it, I heard something, a soft creak. The 13th step. That night, Lily disappeared. I heard her get up around 2 a.m., light footsteps, humming, then nothing. I found the pantry door open. She wasn't inside, but the pantry was no longer a pantry. It was a hallway now. Black wood, narrow, too narrow. The walls sloped inward like the house was breathing. There were doors on either side, none with handles. At the far end, a flickering purple light, like candlelight, but wrong. The air smelled faintly of lavender, but rotting, like the candle had burned for far too long in a room without windows. Lily never came back. I don't sleep anymore. I nail every door shut, but they never stay that way. Sometimes I hear voices, my voice, whispering things I haven't said yet. Sometimes I see footprints in the dust, leading from rooms I haven't entered. Sometimes I see myself in places I haven't been. The hallway still appears in the pantry every night, and every night it's one step closer. Last night, the doors along the hallway were open a crack. Tonight, one of them will be wide open, and I'll be waiting on the other side. The Lantern Man. Mara didn't mean to end up in Dervick Hollow. She was only trying to find a scenic route through the mountains, something quieter than the highway. The GPS offered a winding back road through thick forest and mist-covered hills and she took it without a second thought. The first sign that something was wrong came when the road narrowed unexpectedly, forcing her to slow down. The second was the fog, thick and sudden. One moment she could see the treetops. The next, she was inside a cloud. She should have turned around, but the road behind her had already vanished into white. So she kept going. Eventually, the trees opened into a small valley, and there it was, a village she hadn't seen on the map. Old stone buildings, crooked roofs, cobblestone streets. It looked centuries out of place, as if time had forgotten it. A sign leaned crookedly at the entrance. Welcome to Dervick Hollow, established 1682. Mara parked in what might have been a town square. It was completely silent. No cars, no people, only crows perched on chimney tops and the faint creak of weathered wood in the breeze. She tried her phone. No signal. She tried the GPS. Frozen. A single figure emerged from a nearby doorway. An old man in a long brown coat, with milky eyes and a limp. "You're not from here," he said. Mara tried to explain she was just passing through, that she'd gotten lost. But the man only nodded, slowly. "They don't like that," he muttered. "Not on lantern night." She asked who they were, but he turned and walked back inside without another word. Then the sun went behind a cloud, or maybe the fog just thickened again, and everything dimmed. A bell began to ring once, then twice, then 6 times. From windows and doorways people emerged, dozens of them, dressed in old clothes, too old, bonnets, waistcoats, lanterns in hand. No one spoke. They moved slowly, solemnly, forming a loose procession down the main road. Mara watched, frozen. A woman with braided gray hair turned and looked at her. Her eyes were wide and wet with fear. "You should find shelter," she whispered, "before he lights the last lantern." And then she was gone with the others. Mara stood alone in the square. The wind shifted. Somewhere deeper in the fog a flame flickered, a lantern. She thought of the name the old man had said, Lantern Night, and realized that whatever was happening, it wasn't a festival. It was a warning. She tried to drive. The road was gone, just fog and trees. No matter how many turns she made, she always ended up back in the village. By the time she returned to her car, the sun had disappeared entirely. It wasn't night yet, but the light had gone. Everything was a dull gray blue, the kind of light that happens just before a storm, when the sky closes in. From deeper within the village, a second lantern lit, then a third. The people were nowhere to be seen. She ran. Not sure where she was going, only that she had to move. She found an old inn, door unlocked, hearth cold. Dust on every surface, but it looked like it had been used recently. On a table sat a plate of untouched food, and a candle burned low, still flickering. Mara shut the door and bolted it. Every window she covered with whatever she could find. Curtains, tablecloths, even an old rug. She lit a fire, more for comfort than warmth. The air had grown heavy and close, like something was pressing down on the entire village. The bell rang again. 7 times. She checked her phone. Still dead. She didn't want to sleep, but exhaustion won. She dreamed of forests with no sky and a tall figure whose face was a lantern, glass skin with flame behind it, flickering where eyes should be. When she woke, it was pitch black. The fire had died, and the sound of glass tapping came from the window. Mara didn't move. Tap, tap, tap. Then the soft creak of wood. The front door, though bolted, groaned as if something leaned against it. She heard breathing, but not like a person. Wet, bubbling, like bellows dipped in water. A voice whispered through the cracks. "Let me in. I have the light. You'll be safe in the light." She covered her ears. The whispering grew louder. "I am the lantern. I burn for the forgotten. I burn for you." Suddenly every lantern in the village outside lit at once. Dozens. Hundreds. Their glow turned the fog golden. She peeked through a gap in the curtain. People stood outside, but they weren't people anymore. Their faces were blackened, waxy, dripping, as if they had melted. Empty eyes stared ahead, each one holding a flickering lantern. And in the center, tall and thin, stood him, the Lantern Man. His head was an iron lantern cage. Inside burned a flame that roared like a living thing. He didn't walk, he drifted. Smoke poured from his arms. Where he passed, the grass withered. He raised a hand. The lanterns tilted in unison. And the whispering returned. This time, from inside the room. Mara turned. The lantern on the table was lit. It hadn't been before. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Smoke began to curl from its top. Her breath caught in her throat as something began to rise from it, a shape, humanoid but formless, all flicker and ash. She ran, out the back door, into the alley. Lanterns lit one by one as she passed them. The light did not feel warm. It felt wrong, like being watched by something ancient and cold, pretending to be fire. She made it to the church at the top of the hill, the only building not yet lit. The door was open, candles still unlit. Inside sat the woman from earlier, the one with gray braids. "He's marked you," she said, not looking up. "You saw him. That's all it takes." "What is he?" Mara gasped. "The Hollow's keeper, its judge, the light that finds the forgotten." "I don't belong here." None of us did, not at first. The church bell rang once, 8 times. The woman sighed. "You should run. He doesn't like it when they scream inside the light." Mara didn't understand, but she ran anyway. Back down the hill, past houses now glowing like jack-o'-lanterns, shadows moving behind every window. The fog burned where the lanterns touched it. As she sprinted, she saw others watching from inside their homes, eyes wide, silent, as if witnessing something inevitable. She reached her car. It was running. She didn't question it. She drove. This time, the road was there. This time, the fog parted. She didn't look back. It was dawn when she reached the main road. The sky pink and soft, like nothing had happened. She didn't tell anyone. What could she say? But that night, in her apartment, she found something on her kitchen table. A lantern, cold, unlit. Beside it, a note. You saw him. You carry the light now. She threw the lantern away. The next day, it was back. Now, every night at 8 o'clock, the lights flicker. Sometimes she sees people standing on the street outside. They're holding lanterns, and they're waiting.